Good morning and welcome to the DFS Army YouTube channel. I'm Razzle11 and you can find me on X at Razzle11Grinds. Going to take a look at pitching for today, the 26th of May. It is Monday. It is Memorial Day. So happy Memorial Day to everybody out there. We do have it's a 7-game main slate. I don't know why these 2 games are showing up here. I think it's just a DK glitch or something. And then we have a 4-game evening slate. This is a first look at pitching options, and I will be utilizing DraftKings as that is where a majority of my action is. If you do play on FanDuel, I'd cut my pool in half as you don't have to be as creative. Pricing isn't quite as tight. It allows you to get the stacks you want with an upper tier-ish pitcher. That said, the night slate pitching is atrocious. Weather-wise, one big game here, Cincinnati, Kansas City on the day slate. A lot of weather issues. Going to have to pay attention to that. Both pitchers were names that I wrote down in looking at their props. But there are actually 6 other pitchers with some props that are actually more intriguing on the slate. But let's just take a look here. Aside from that game, we have super warm temps in Tampa Bay again, with wind slightly blowing out. Easily the warmest environment on the day. Wind's actually blowing in Baltimore, very slightly, so take that for what it's worth. Wind in Wrigley from right field. Pretty solid thing to pay attention to. Not overly hot, not cold by any means. Blowing out in Detroit as well. Night slate-wise, nothing big to worry about. Some ballparks that don't really deal with or have to worry about the wind per se. Arizona, roof could be closed. Not a big deal. With that said, let's just take a look at the pitching options on these slates. The main slate or day slate, I believe it's the main, but San Francisco, Detroit, no thank you on any pitching in that matchup. Boston, Milwaukee, Garrett Crochet, obviously, ton of upside. Strikeout numbers are kind of all over the place. I'm not really sure, what the deal is with that, but still, K-prop is 6.5, juice to the over. Number 1 K-prop on this particular slate. Plus 105 to earn the W, which is tied for second with Clay Holmes. Which is weird because the Red Sox are minus 155 favorites. The Mets in their matchup are minus 310 favorites, but yet their starting pitchers have the same odds to pick up the W. Crochet gets a pretty plus matchup. Milwaukee, aside from yesterday against Bailey Falter, has really struggled against left-handed pitching for much of this season so far. So for Crochet, I think there's plenty of upside. On the other side, Chad Patrick, coming off a pretty strong game against the Orioles. Couldn't quite make it through 5 innings, but the strikeouts were there. He does get a plus strikeout matchup against Boston. With Boston dealing with some injuries as well. It's not a bad spot. Game total is 7.5, juice to the under. Patrick's K-prop is 5.5, juice to the under, which is tied for the 4th best on this particular slate. He's plus 330 to earn the W, which is the worst odds of anybody that I wrote down. Pretty extreme odds, obviously, taking on Crochet, but the Brewers are only plus 130 underdogs, so it's not like Boston's expected to just dominate this matchup. I think Patrick is very intriguing because we could see a pretty weakened Boston lineup. I know Patrick started out his career as a reverse splits guy. I haven't looked recently, but I think they've kind of evened out since early on in the season. But it's something to pay attention to. Next game, the Cubs in Wrigley. Jameson Taillon against the second weakest offense in baseball. The offense that strikes out the most or the second most. Suppose we might as well bring that up here. Get the update to see if Colorado or the Angels are sitting in last. Colorado sitting second to last. The Angels have overtaken them with a higher strikeout performance yesterday. But easily the two teams that strike out the most. Colorado striking out the most on the road, yes, which is where they are at today in Wrigley with wind blowing in. Taillon, certainly strong option. K-prop is 6.5, juice to the under, tied for the second best K-prop, and he's minus 135 to earn the W. Now, that said, he's not a huge K guy in general, so it's a pretty strong K-prop. I get the matchup, but that might be one we lean towards the under and just hope that he hits the 6 mark, to be honest. With that said, had a rough stretch with some home runs there, but obviously wind blowing in, etc. Doesn't mean home runs can't be hit in Wrigley, especially because it's not like it's galing in at 20 miles an hour. But I would bet that Taillon doesn't allow a home run. I'll probably be wrong. He's given up a home run in 8 of his 10 starts. But the 2 that he did come at home, and I would be willing to bet that at least one of those had some wind blowing in. In fact, I would guess that both of them might, or were super cold, given that it was April in Wrigley. So I just think we just pick on Colorado. It's just been a theme, and that's what we're going to keep doing. Wind blowing in, Palmquist, I'm still not going to get there. I'm sorry. Just 2 strikeouts in 2 starts, 5 walks. Just nothing says we better play Palmquist against the Cubs. Fedde and Morton, I did see some late night chatter about Fedde being viable against Baltimore. I'm not ready to call Fedde viable against Baltimore. I'm not ready to call Baltimore's offense dead or the team dead. Charlie Morton has looked good each of his last 3 appearances, but I'm just not ready to take a below average pitcher against a team like St. Louis who makes plenty of contact. DeGrom versus Gausman. Pretty nice matchup. Very intriguing. DeGrom 6.5, juice to the under on the Ks. Game total just 7. Lowest total on the slate. It's actually lower than the Wrigley game at 7.5. DeGrom plus 150 to earn the W. Gausman K-prop of 5.5, juice to the under, plus 190 to earn the W. I think both pitchers super viable. Probably my third and fourth, or Gausman's probably my 4th favorite pitcher. DeGrom, probably my 3rd favorite. Could be talked into him as the 2nd favorite, behind Crochet. But DeGrom, been phenomenal. Toronto just doesn't strike out a ton, but I mean, it's DeGrom, matchup proof, etc. Gausman, super volatile. Gave up 10 hits and 3 home runs. One start, comes back and absolutely shuts down the Padres. A team that just doesn't strike out a ton, struck out 9. Cleveland, a team that traditionally hasn't struck out a ton, struck out 9 and shut them down. He's super dominant starts, but then he has some super terrible ones as well. Pitching on the road, doesn't give up as many home runs, but strikeouts aren't there, walks are up. He's a lot more volatile than DeGrom is in this matchup, but I think both guys have to be in play because of the upside. The guy that might be ahead of DeGrom in my rankings could be Clay Holmes here. Minus 310 favorite, plus 105 to earn the W. K-prop of 5.5, but juice to the under. Not a huge K guy, as you can see. Hasn't topped 5Ks since the 20th of April. Just a great matchup, but I've talked about it early on in the season. I do worry about him hitting some sort of a wall at some point because he's just not used to being a starting pitcher. As you can see, the first 5 home runs he's given up on the year have all come in the last 3 starts. Don't expect the White Sox to hit a bunch of home runs off of him, but still, there might be a reason to then drop him down to number 3 or even 4. But I think 4 would be a stretch. I think he's somebody that we can just trust a little more than Kevin Gausman, even though the Texas lineup has been weak and without Seager and now Peterson on the IL, even though Jock wasn't exactly tearing the cover off the ball. Cincinnati, Kansas City. We saw plenty of rain on our weather station. I like both pitchers. Lorenzen gets a great K matchup. It's a good ballpark for avoiding some home runs, even though obviously he can give up some home runs. His K prop's 4.5, juice to the over. Lower than a lot of the guys we talked about, but still, this game total is 8, juice to the under. I think both guys are certainly viable, but I just don't think we're going to get the weather to help us out. Martinez has thrown some pretty solid games. I think he's in play if that game clears up, but he'd be the last guy in my pool at this point. Let's just take a look at this night slate pitching. It's gross. Ryan Yarbrough is the most expensive pitcher on the slate. He's in play. Back-to-back strong performances. A really great performance against Texas, to be honest. K-prop's 4.5 juice to the under. Game total is 9.5 juice to under as well. He doesn't have a win odds prop yet, but he might be the best option on this slate, and it's grossing me out to even consider that. Ryan Weathers, 2 starts since his return from the IL, both against the Cubs, both allowing just 1 run on a solo home run. San Diego comes in kind of struggling offensively. Ryan Weathers, a little revenge narrative from being dealt away from the Padres to the Marlins. I'm intrigued. Game total on this one is just 7.5. Juice to the over, but still. The issue is Weathers' K-prop is 3.5 juiced over. And he's plus 195 to earn the W, which actually isn't that bad on this particular slate. I think Weathers is certainly worth exposure. Andrew Haney, 2 earned runs or less than 3 straight starts. Strikeouts haven't been there. Walks have been up. But he's one of those wild card type on this slate of not great pitching that I think we need to get exposure to because he does have the upside. Absolutely dominated the Angels about a month ago. Struck out 10 against the Yankees a month and a half ago. A little more than a month and a half ago. That's showing the upside that he has. And I don't think any other pitcher on this slate can actually match that upside when things come together. It is a volatile matchup, but Arizona is weaker against left-handed pitching. So for that, I think we have to get exposed to Andrew Heaney in our builds. Zach Littell taking on the Twins. Twins have been hotter from a win standpoint, not exactly hot from an offensive standpoint. The issue here is we saw weather super warm, slight wind blowing out in Tampa Bay. The hitting environment is so strong that it's really tough to trust Littell or Paddock. Littell's K-prop at 4.5 juice the under, plus 170 to earn the W. Well, Paddock is plus 185. K-prop with just 3.5 juice the over. He's been fairly solid. Couple back-to-back 22-plus performances, so the ability's there, even though I just don't think this is the right spot for us. But given the pitching on the slate, we do have to consider both guys. I just don't think I can get to Paddock. Littell might be a bit of a reach, but I'd rather use him than Paddock in this matchup. Vasquez, I don't really want to use Vasquez, but his Ks have been there the last 3 starts, and by been there, I mean better than previously. And he's taking on the Marlins in the lowest total, and he's the favorite. He's plus 210 to earn the W, but the Padres are minus 142 favorites. I think Vasquez has to be in play. Last guy that I'm considering here, Ryan Nelson, looked pretty solid in his start against the Dodgers. Not really completely stretched out, probably in the 80s for pitch count, but he gets a pretty strong matchup. Minus 192 favorites. I think they're the largest favorites on the slate. Plus 195 to earn the W, which is similar to Weathers. K-prop of 4.5 juice to the under. But there we have it. There's a first look at pitching. If you enjoy what I bring to you, please hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, turn the notification bell on, get the alert anytime we drop videos here at DFS Army. If you want to join us, get access to our coaches, tools, sheets, Discord, etc. I will put links in the description below. You can use promo code RAZ, that's R-A-Z, for 10% off monthly. And as always, best of luck, everybody.